So, all right. So we're going to talk about recognizing mental health issues in the workplace. Again, my name is Anthony Rodriguez. I am the Operations and Disaster Services Specialist. I don't just cause disasters, but I do work disasters. Just keep that in mind. I did want to ask basically who is in the room. If you guys can just put it in the chat for me, what you do, if you're an HR, if you're a supervisor, if you're an employee, and I want to know, what do you guys do when you guys are stressed out? What helps you guys out? I want you guys to share that with us in the chat so we can get a kind of better feel of what we're working with today. Now, for me, just so you know, I'm very open and honest about the things that I deal with. So right now I have my mom that is at end stage Alzheimer's, and she's here with me. So when she started getting pretty bad, I got a very special gift that has actually been helping me in my self-care. And that is definitely my osito papacito, just so you guys know. He's my little puppy. I remember him like this, but he's not like that anymore. This morning when I woke up, he's looking like this. He got lucky, he got to sleep in, I didn't. But this is what helps me out, definitely to kind of just take some time and breathe. Everybody goes through so many different things in life. We don't know what somebody's going through, and that's okay, but we have to take care of ourselves. So that's just something to think about. Just share what helps you guys de-stress, okay? Now, when it comes to mental health, a lot of people get nervous. They don't want to talk about it. And the thing is that it's like, if you broke your leg, you're not going to tell yourself that you need to hurry up and get better and you're going to walk on it. No, it takes some time, right? It takes time, but you go and you get your cast or you get, surgery, and it starts to feel better. You go and get some help for that. And that's something that we need to think about when we're talking about mental health. There's nothing wrong with having a mental health condition. There's nothing wrong with somebody suffering. It's just the fact that there's so much stigma around the mental health crisis if somebody is dealing with depression. And, depression is one of the largest disabilities in the United States. It costs the United States $51.5 billion every year because people have depression and they can't go back to work, or they have things that are making it a lot worse to be able to go back to work. And the thing is that sometimes it's so hard to get help, right? We don't want to talk about it, but it's okay not to be okay. And I want to make sure that, it's a cliche, just a comment, but it's true. It's true. It's okay not to be okay, as long as we have somebody we can talk to, right? So what is mental health? Well, it's something that affects us, and it makes a huge impact on us and our quality of life if we don't figure out a way to help us out. And when you're not feeling okay, it's all right to say, you know what, I need to stop. I need to walk away. I need to just take some time. And like what we talked about earlier is about breathing. People say, oh, well, I breathe all the time. Well, of course we do. Thank goodness we do, right? But really taking time to breathe, like sitting down by yourself 3 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day, just make it a point to do that and just take in what you have in front of you. Just go outside and just see what you got. I mean, a lot of people don't realize the beautiful things that we have in front of us. We're too busy thinking about the things that we have to deal with, things that we have to still do, and we don't take time for that for ourselves. Now, I'm talking from personal experience. I don't know if some of you heard about Santa Barbara's debris flow back in 2018, where we lost 21 lives. I was working at the Office of Emergency Management at that time on the debris flow, but right before the debris flow, we had the Thomas Fire, which is one of the largest fires that we had in our county. And so during the debris flow, which was 1/9/2018, I was working at Office of Emergency Management. I'm the one that opened the call center, and I was taking all the missing persons calls, and it was intense. It was a huge, intense time. It was overwhelming, but I felt I needed to do it because I was the one running it. I wanted to make sure I got answers for these families that were looking for their family members. And as soon as I got out of there, I was working at the city. So I went to my regular job, and then I went to my second job. I probably got in 1 week, I probably got maybe at the most 10 hours of sleep, I believe it was. By the second week, I found out that I lost one of my students in the debris flow. And like he talked about is that, Santa Barbara Response Network, well, I co-founded that, and we respond to homicides, suicides, traumatic events. We provide emotional support for families that have been affected by large events or any just a death. And so I was also working that hat as well. And I wasn't thinking about me. I was just thinking about, I got a family that I need to take care of because there's so much media. There's all kinds of things going on. Well, 2018, May 26, 2018, I suffered a brain aneurysm. So all that stress definitely took its toll on me. And people don't realize that it can cause heart conditions. It can cause depression. It can cause suicidal thoughts. It can cause self-harm. It can cause, there's so many causes. It's not just one cause that causes mental health conditions, but mental health conditions also cause health conditions. Okay. And it's not worth it. You have to take care of yourself. So self-care is extremely important. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of statistics on what we're currently working with and dealing with. So a lot of people don't know that nearly 1 in 5 US adults live with a mental health condition, right? Now, workplace stress has caused over 120,000 deaths, whether it was alcoholism, drug addiction, suicide, just not being able to think at work because you're thinking about your personal issues, or you have a mental health condition, there's an accident or an incident at work. So there's fatalities with that. And it can cause a lot of issues, but also I want to let people know is that there is help. There is, something can be done about it. Okay, this is something that we can work with. Now, 65% of the workers have definitely said that they have something going on in their life, whether it's a mental health condition that a doctor has diagnosed or just something that they're dealing with internally. Now, the United States Labor Department says about 83% of US workers suffer from work-related stress. Okay, 54% of those workers report stress that affects their home life because they're stressed at work and they don't talk to their family members, or they don't say, hey, you know what? I might have a difficult day today. If I come home, I might need some time. No, well, you have family members that are worried about you. They're going to ask you, well, what's going on? Are you okay? And if you can't blame them for asking, they're worried. But when there's no communication on there, that's where the issues happen, right? So it's always good for you guys to communicate and have your employees, let them know that they can communicate with their family members, to let them know ahead of time to work with whatever it is that they might be feeling that day, But if you do something like an EAP or have an EAP program, you get $4 in return of productivity gains, because they will be able to focus better. They'll be able to less lost time accidents. There will be less turnovers. Then you have to continue to keep on training people because you're not taking care of the ones that you have, and you have to take care of your employees. Why? Because it is a law by OSHA, or OSHA requires you to be responsible for your employees, to give them the things that they may need to work with. So with looming deadlines and unrealistic, requests, employers are not doing enough to help with stress. 60% of workers say that work-related stress has increased in 5 years. Also, 64% say that they're overwhelmed at work, compared to 59% of professionals at maybe about approximately the age 35 to 54. And it takes a lot of work to be able to let people know that it's okay for them not to be okay. The top causes of workplace stress, heavy workload and looming deadlines is about 33%. Unrealistic expectations of managers or supervisors, 22%. And attaining balance at work and life is 22%. And coworker conflicts obviously fall into play with that. Now, coworker conflicts is something, again, you guys can also work with. Hopefully you have a great HR team that is looking ahead and being like, all right, this is what we've got. This is what we can work with. If you're having struggles, if you're having difficulties, please feel free to come and talk to me. Sometimes not just once a time or once a year you guys get together, you guys bring that up. You have to bring it up consistently so that people can remember it, saying, you know what, this is what we have in place. This is what you can do if you're feeling this way. If you want to talk to us, then these are some resources. Hand out resources for your employees and your coworkers, you know, because that makes a difference. Team up with mental health resources or community members that can help you guys at work as well. Now, the signs and symptoms of depression, or if somebody's struggling with a mental health condition, are right here. But the thing is, the impact of depression is the most common one in the workplace, but it's also one that can be taken care of with support, medication, getting some help. EAP programs, if you look into your insurance, ask them what they have, what they can provide for your employees. Be on top of that. It helps so much with, again, depression is one of the main disability issues or concerns in the United States right now. People, if they don't get enough sleep, not thinking correctly, again, can cause other issues, and mental health conditions can worsen if they're not taking care of their self-care. Suicides, they're up over 50%, okay, in many different counties. And some places they're up over 75 to 100%. And that's no joke. Suicide is a difficult topic to talk about, but we have to talk about it if you want to reduce the risk of suicide, okay? It's a very difficult thing. I'm a multiple attempt survivor myself. A lot of people don't know that, but I'm not afraid to say it anymore. I was before, but you know what? If I don't say something, then I'm not going to let people know that they're not the only ones not feeling that way, because they're not the only ones. There's many people that, and you don't have to have a mental health condition to have thoughts of self-harm or suicide. It could be one thing that's taking you over the edge. But if you don't understand that you have a voice, which was taken away from me when I was young, it made it difficult for me to be able to say, hey, you know what, this is how I'm feeling. But you know, growing up in my culture, I was told to shut up, suck it up, and deal with it. And it made it difficult for me to say, hey, you know, I'm not doing okay. But now that I've learned, got skills, been trained, which I never thought I would be where I'm at now, which I'm very grateful for. I see life a lot different, and I'm grateful for that. I have 67 godchildren in 2 weeks. I have a total of 67, which I love them all. And yes, I have 67. I don't have no kids, but 67. And the reason why I know is that I put them on a spreadsheet because I couldn't keep it straight. And that's how I know. But nobody ever thought that, I never thought I would be in the spot that I am. And I'm very grateful for that. But it's because I got support, and somebody finally told me, you know what, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm gonna listen, and then we'll figure it out, because I don't know what to do. Just by being honest with someone, saying, hey, you know what, this is a little new to me, but I'm willing to figure it out with you. Or somebody just saying, hey, you're not crazy, that's just the way that you feel. Acknowledging somebody's feelings is amazing. But as employers, you're probably telling me, well, I'm not going to be a psychologist because I don't have that training. No, you're not. You're not a psychologist. You're not. But, you know, you just saying, hey, what can we ask your employees? What do they want? What can help them? Have them have a voice in the situation. Have them have a voice to help make those changes makes a big difference. If you have an EAP, again, employee assistance program, they are the ones that are going to be able to support you guys to support your employees. So it's always really good to take a look at that. But I wanted you to show this. This was just on the news 3 days ago here in our county. And I'm going to give you a little background after you guys take a look at this.
There's a national suicide lifeline if you or anyone you know needs help as well. That number is on your screen, 988. It is available 24/7, 365 days a year. From the Isla Vista shooting to the Thomas fire, the Santa Barbara Response Network has been responding to traumatic incidents in the community since 2011.
Our News Channel reporter Amina Wahab spoke to them and experts, and shares with us how you can find the right therapist if you need one.
There's nothing wrong with asking for help.
The National Alliance on Mental Illness says on average, there is an 11-year delay between the onset of mental illness symptoms and treatment. But health experts say it's important to not wait until a traumatic incident to seek help, because there is great value in seeking preventative care.
I've learned that mental health is how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you think the world sees you.
Navigating the process can be challenging. Insurance premiums, scheduling, and the stigma of asking for help can deter people from moving forward. Marriage and family therapist Ali Cortez says representation matters.
It makes a huge difference to see somebody, right, that represents you, that has a understanding of the context of some of the cultural experiences that you have, so that you can vulnerably talk about them.
The National Alliance of Mental Illness says Asians, Latinos, and African Americans have the lowest rates of treatment for mental health.
My childhood, not being able to cry, I took it out on everybody else.
Experts say it's important to realize you are not alone, and having a healthy outlet to express your emotions can make a world of difference.
Just being able to let it out and just not be judged or criticized or made feel any less, it makes a big difference.
Mental health experts recommend setting goals you want to accomplish in therapy and asking for a free consultation call to gauge compatibility with a therapist before moving forward. In Santa Barbara, I'm News Channel reporter Mina Wahab.
So the young man sitting next to me is my nephew. My nephew suffers from a mental health condition, and we had definitely our struggles. We just basically let him back in the house to come and see us because it's Easter. Because him and I had gotten into a verbal altercation, and he actually ended up striking me. So I asked him to leave. But the thing is that his parents died when he was very young. We took custody of him at 8 years old. If I'm turning my back on him when he actually really needs my help, and he actually came up and said, Theo, I need help for the first time, I'm not going to turn away from him. I'm going to get him the help that he needs, or guide him, because he needs to do his work as well. Guide him to where the resources is. And they didn't actually put on what they had actually interviewed. They actually interviewed him. And I got to tell you, I was very surprised that he was just, for the first time, he said, I understand where my uncle's coming from, and I do need help. And I guess it is okay for me to say I need help. And I stayed away during the interview. I was listening, but I didn't turn around and look at him. But he said that on his own. And for me, that was good enough. So that interview is something that I'm going to hold dear to my heart, because he finally just said, you know what, I do need help. And I do. And so he stayed the weekend with us for Easter. And my wife took him yesterday to go get some mental health support. So that is good. And, there's some struggles. I don't put up with things, but when somebody's asking you for help, you can't turn them away. You have to figure it out. And if you're not the one that has to figure it out, then that's why you have other resources in your community. Take a look at the resources you have. Work with mental behavioral wellness. If somebody's thinking about thoughts of suicide, you got the 988 number. If you don't want to do that, you have the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, NAMI. There's so many other resources that you have in your communities that maybe you don't even know about it, but be willing to take a look and see what you do have, and make the connections ahead of time before you need those resources, because that will make it a lot more comfortable to be able to get somebody else some help. Okay. So other things that you guys can do is educate your employees about your mental health benefits, train your managers and supervisors on how to notice if somebody's not doing okay, or you might need to refer somebody. Don't be afraid to talk about mental health in your communications, whether it be weekly or newsletter you guys do, monthly newsletter. Just throwing it out, a self-care tip makes a big difference, just so they can realize that you are serious about working with somebody and getting them, the tools, meaning, the handouts of the resources or whatever it is, but then to realize that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to have a mental health condition. Because there's so many people that you have no idea that might be dealing with a mental health condition, and they're doing an awesome job for you, and you have no idea. But there could be some triggers that might happen one day, and you'll be like, well, what's going on with them? Well, they just didn't talk about it because they were doing okay. And it's okay. Like I said, it's okay not to be okay, but you have to just let people know you're thinking about it. You don't have to do much, but just recognize that there is concerns, that there is things that happen. Somebody is dealing with it, and it's all right. It's all right. You know, just recognize mental health month, which is May. You know, do something fun with them. But again, you know, what we dealt with at the food bank during during COVID, it became so overwhelming, just so intense. People were calling saying that they needed food, crying on the phone. A lot of our staff was getting overwhelmed. They didn't know how to deal with it. But then I asked my boss, I was like, hey, is it all right if I just do a rose and thorn time with some of the employees if they want to do that? And they're like, what is that? I'm like, well, what's going good? What's going bad? But just giving them an opportunity just to say whatever it is they want to say and not be judged and not get fired for it, but just let it out. And I did, I threw it out there and I had a good group and it was awesome because everybody's kind of looking at each other like, do I want to say something or not? I'm like, no, this is a free for all, just whatever it is, just say it. No, you're not going to be judged. You're not going to be told you're fired. It's how you feel. And I want people to recognize that. And it went so well that we started doing that once a week. Okay. With that, during 2020, I went to go speak at Mental Health for US, which I had no idea was part of the Kennedys, which was really nerve-wracking. But what they were talking about is mental health stuff in the workplace, what they can do to help change, things in the workplace. And this is a national program from them. And what I spoke on was the fact that, there are times that some of us can't deal with things, and there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make us weak. That just makes us human. And what sometimes we need is we want to ask for a day off, but we're so scared to ask for a day off because we don't want people to criticize us. We don't want people to think that we're going crazy. We don't want people to think that, okay, well, I guess they can't handle that, so they might not be able to handle their job, and it's not like that. Sometimes we do need just our time to take care of things that we have to take care of. And I made sure that I brought that up on that stage. And once I was done with that, when I came back to work, I brought that up at work and just said, you know what, all of us are going through a lot, and it's starting to get a little overwhelming. Can we get like a day off or something? Like, we don't have to call it a mental health day, but just an employee day, like an employee something but it's getting a little overwhelming. And, with my background, and I kept on telling, they took it into consideration, and it made differences in our staff. So we have to create an environment where people feel that their work is meaningful, because what all of us do, no matter what job you have, whether you're cleaning toilets, whether you're a supervisor or a CEO, our work has to mean something to us, and when it does mean something to us, our productivity goes up. And when we're recognized, even for just being there, it helps because people notice. And that's what sometimes we want people to do, is to notice us, whether we're doing good or whether we're doing bad. But sometimes we do bad so people will notice, right? Just like little kids, not intentionally, but sometimes that's what happens. But another thing that you can do is just make it fun, right? Talk about mental health, right? So what I did is that I needed to remember about self-care, right? I had my experience. I didn't want to go through it again. And I saw the struggles that we were having. So what I created was self-care bingo. And I didn't know if this was going to work, but hey, I'm going to try anything to make sure that our staff is good. And they realize that we are thinking about them. So I did this, and we had an amazing response. What I did is through all organizations that we work with, I asked if anybody was willing to donate some self-care stuff to our employees that actually participated in this bingo. And, people were asking, well, what does that mean? Or what is it? And I just explained it to them. Any little task that I pull out that day, they have a week to complete it. Whether it was, check on 3 friends, talk about 3 things that made you smile today. And it worked. It was amazing. And I got a bunch of gifts donated. And I was able to give, people that, won the bingo, three individuals. But also our company ended up doing an ice cream party at the end for whichever branch actually participated the most. So the ones that had the most participation at the locations, they had a ice cream party. Now me, ice cream, I'm a happy man. I'm totally a happy man. I love ice cream. and that's probably a bad thing, but I love ice cream. And so it was really cool. And it brought a lot of us together because I made them post that stuff on Slack. I don't know if anybody uses Slack, but that was our communications tool. And I had them posted on there. So if they took a selfie with somebody, you had to put it on Slack and people would see it. And then people started just loving it. And it was so nice to get to know people at a different level. And the things that they might think about it. And everybody was pretty open to it. And that's good. That was a really good sign. So we're actually doing self-care bingo again next month for our staff. Other things that Foodbank did is we call them the employee holidays now. We train staff in psychological first aid. We recognize Mental Health Awareness Month. We also recognize Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. We also provided staff for de-escalation training because of the phone calls that we were getting from people being completely overwhelmed about not having food. And we also partnered with behavioral wellness for the month of May. And so that's where this came in. Oops, wrong slide, wrong button. There we go.
Month is Mental Health Matters Month, and Santa Barbara County's Behavioral Wellness Department is taking part. News Channel reporter Reed Harmon visited the Foodbank to see how they're teaming up and reaching out.
May is Mental Health Matters Month, and while the pandemic has elevated awareness for mental health,
we know that the pandemic has had impacts on everyone's mental health. There's no way it can't.
The month of May brings more action from Santa Barbara County's Behavioral Wellness Department.
Behavioral Wellness, the county's department, is partnering up with Foodbank of Santa Barbara County.
The Foodbank partnership brings opportunity for families, which includes strengthening food insecurity.
When it comes to your mental health, I mean, you got to think about the good food. You have to be able to eat right, and and bringing these a combination of both is really impactful.
And giving food is a huge way to impact that and support it. But yes, being able to pair it up with mental health resources, great opportunity.
And those mental health resources are included in the food boxes that will be given to nearly 8,000 people just this month.
You receive your food box, but with it are some more informational resources. Our mental health gets impacted by so many things, and that's okay.
The information that they're getting is something that is needed. We need to talk about it more and be able to bring this out into the to the light to get that stigma away from mental health. It's okay not to be okay.
To receive those food packages, people can visit a food bank distribution center, give the number of people in your family, and grab your food and mental health resources.
It's something that is needed in this community, and I'm glad that we're doing a partnership with it. We're hoping that with this, everybody will be a little more comfortable talking about mental health.
In Santa Barbara, I'm News Channel reporter Reed Harmon.
So you guys all matter, your employees matter, your family matters. And it's important for you guys to think about yourselves, but also the people that you work with. Sometimes we just need somebody to reach out and say, hey, what's going on? You want to talk? If you don't want to talk, just know that I'm here. And sometimes that's all it takes to save a life. The gentleman that I know, we work very closely talking about, preventing suicide. He had told me that he was standing on that bridge and he was waiting for somebody just to stop or say something, or somebody call the cops, or somebody say just anything. And he said that if nobody came, and it was already over 45 minutes, and if nobody came within 5 minutes, he was going to jump. He jumped because nobody bothered even just to stop their car and say, dude, what are you doing? But as soon as he took that step off that bridge, he regretted it. He didn't want to die. He just wanted the pain to stop. And that's what happens, is that you guys can prevent so many things from happening just by just asking one question. And if you don't know what to do, just be honest. I don't know what to do, and pass it over to the experts that they can get some support. You're not going to be the counselor, but you can be that bridge. And that's what us as employers can do, is be that bridge to make those connections. Because sometimes we just need that little push to go ahead and ask for help. So I'll go ahead and take questions. I thank you so much for having me. Here is my email. If you have any other comments, questions, if you need any information on mental health services, want some information how to do your own self-care bingo, or any other ideas, I'm happy to share. I see that we do have some stuff on the chat. If somebody can help me out with that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. And before we go to the questions, if there are any, just remind you that there's a 1-minute survey that will show up after you close out of the Zoom session. Take a minute if you can to fill that out. And next month, we've got a heat illness forum, and we'll be sending information out on that. But keep your eye out for that. That'll be on, because it's already almost summer. Oh, let me get the date. I almost had it up. On May 9th, Tuesday, May 9th will be heat illness. So thank you, Anthony. Yeah, I'm looking through the chat, and the biggest question was, will there be slides? Will you make the slide deck available? And I told him, of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, we'll make that ready, and we'll send that out to everybody. Does anybody have any questions for Anthony? In pertaining to anything that sparked a thought? Feel free to write it in the chat, or you can unmute. Go for it. Unmute and just ask away if you'd like.
Yeah. There's no questions, man. I think I'm gonna fire myself.
Anthony, can you tell us a little more about the bingo?
Yeah, so so what I did is that I put all those, what I call tasks, is basically whatever is I put in that little square. What I would do is I would put myself on Zoom and I would record it, me pulling it out. And if it said, there was one that everybody liked, is that pick 3 people that you feel safe talking to. And a lot of people don't even really think about that. And so I recorded it, and I just said, sometimes we don't think about who we can go to when we need support, and I want you guys to think about that, because sometimes, things happen, and if we don't reach out, then we're not going to be able to take care of ourselves. And so I posted up on Slack, and then they would read it, and then in a week, they would have a chance to go ahead and type it in the Slack to share with everybody. And it was really, really fun. And I did that once a week. I pulled out a tab once a week. And then as soon as somebody got that first bingo, they got a prize. So I got donated from the mental wellness program that's here. They gave us a mental wellness gift basket, which had a massage in there, which had a gift certificate to, I think it was the movies. And so just all these things that you can do for your own self and your family. It was actually really nice. So that was the first prize. The other prize was a gift card to, I think, Starbucks. And then there was another one to a thing for dinner for 2. But we did that until we had 3 different winners. So it was really, really nice to get to know people. Everybody was really open, and you can make your own. I found this app that you could just type in what you want to put in there, and it scrambles all the cards up for you, and all you have to do is print them out and send them to your employees, and you just keep track of it. So it was actually really cool, and it was free to do. I had no cost to it, except when obviously, but the company bought ice cream. But it was nice that they wanted to do something. I didn't have to ask them. They're like, oh, well, we'll do ice cream. And I'm like, yes. That's what I'm talking about. I love ice cream. So it was a good thing. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah. I also liked that you do the rose and thorn.
Yeah, it was really
talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. So basically, I saw a lot of our staff struggling because we were working long days, and being able to feed the whole community. I'm responsible for the feeding plan for the whole entire county. And so, our food bank was just getting completely overwhelmed. And so, I sent out an email, just said, hey, if you guys want to get together and just talk about your rose and thorn, just basically what the things you guys are struggling with and the good things that are happening in your life. If you're willing to do that, I'll be willing to listen. We can talk about it. There's no lashbacks. You can say whatever it is you want to say. You're not going to lose your job. We want you to talk about how you feel. And, we'll work on it together. And I had at that time, we only had 50 employees. I had 21 employees participate in it. And we started doing that once a week, just so we can just talk about what was frustrating us at work and at home. And it was really nice. We got so much good feedback on it, knowing that they were able just to say whatever it is they wanted to say and not be judged or criticized or made feel any less because they were struggling with some of the stuff that we were dealing with. And it helped out, and it created our team. It got our team a little bit a lot closer, actually, because we weren't working out of the office. We were all working away from the office, so we weren't seeing each other. So it actually made it really nice to be able to do that through Zoom.
So we have another question from Rosa. Thank you. How do you address this with people that work remotely? That's a great question. How do you do this with people that work remotely?
So what we started to do is when the people are working remotely, we still have to give them the information. We still have to tell them, you know, these are resources. And somebody had brought up body language when our conversation. So when you're seeing somebody on Zoom, that's what I mean. We make people have their cameras on during our meetings, and you can tell by just their body language that they really don't want to be there. If they're struggling about situations, you can tell because they'll be like with their hands crossed, or be like this, or just like this, or just not being themselves, and you can tell. So there was a couple of people that we had noticed that with, and what I did on my own is I just went and taught, you know, just send them a text and say, hey, you got a second? They're like, yeah, what's up? And so I'm like, well, is it cool if I call you? And they're like, yeah. And so I called them and be like, hey, you know, saw that you're kind of a little off on the Zoom. Are you all right? You know, is there anything that we can help you with? And, you know, there at first, 2 of them said no, but those 2 ended up calling me a week later saying, yeah, you know, they're having some issues because they don't like the fact that, you know, the Zoom things took so long and there's too many meetings on Zoom. And that was okay, you know, it was all good, but they're expressing how they fit and how they felt, and their feelings are validated and they're not minimized. And so even with that made a big difference. They're like, well, at least you listen. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know what I could do about it, but I'm willing to listen. And they're like, well, at least somebody's paying attention, you know, and that made a difference too. Because I was like, well, at least they know that they have somebody. And they're not, you know, just saying things because that's how it is, and they're just going to get ignored. They're not going to get ignored. So we always follow through with that, and follow through makes a big difference as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, this was an easy group, I guess.
Not a question, but more or less just a comment. You know, Anthony, I met you last year when I had first started with Safety Center, and you had did a forum last year, and your story and your presentation was so inspiring, you know, and it was one that I still remember. You know, like I said, we do these every month, you know, but no, I appreciate you sharing, you know, all the tips and techniques and ideas and things that you're doing over there. So very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So if anybody is ever interested, there's a lot of topics that I do cover. I know a lot of people say food bank, and I'm like, let me tell you, it ain't just all about food bank. There's a lot of other things that we do, and we do provide, and you know, it's helped out not just our organization but other organizations. So because I'm also part of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm also a public speaker on suicide and awareness, prevention, and child abuse awareness, and also obviously, you know, work safety and OSHA background. So there's a lot of things that I can help with. Hopefully, if there's anything, you guys can reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out, and I can, you know, support however I can.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Anthony. This will conclude our forum today. Anthony, a huge blessing to have you here. Thank you. What a gift for your presentation. We will make sure we get the slides out to everybody. Should we say feel free to reach out to you if they have any questions or needs through your email? All right, perfect. So,
absolutely, please do.
Great resource. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Anthony, again, thank you for your time. Very valuable, insightful.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.